So over the past couple of years of making TF videos, I'm constantly surprised how human this race of robots can actually be, considering they're not organic and all. So I'd love it if you'd consider subscribing and accompany me on this journey to look at all the weird and wonderful things that the Transformers do. And I'll try and find an explanation wherever I can. Case in point, they kiss. Now, obviously our guys aren't just mindless drones, they have intense emotions and various ways of expressing them. The act itself is an odd one, because, you know, and it implies that their mouths are sensitive areas like humans. We know that they do have teeth and tongues, like you remember Starscream's devil tongue in the Gen 2 comics, and Alice, well, she definitely had a tongue. But I find it interesting that an advanced alien race would convey emotion in this way. So I think that this is mostly for our benefit, a simple visual that we recognize as physical love. What is Blastoff gonna kiss here? Is he gonna kiss Onslaught's faceplate? So yeah, they eat. I've seen them eating these small cubes of energon, which I guess need chewing because why else would they have teeth? I can't find the exact issue this happened in, but I did once see Tailgate open his faceplate up to reveal this small grinder that he would shove an energon stick into. Right here, Wheelie overeats at this party. RC did warn him, but he basically GTFO'd her in that typical annoying way that only Wheelie can.
Can't you see I'm in perfect shape? Anyway, I'm enjoying myself.
Ugh. Anyway, this is what happened to him. And I've even seen them eating bananas, especially bots with primate alt modes. Yeah, they drink energon too, because we've seen them getting faced in the Gen 1 series. Power Glide calls it over-energizing.
This stuff's the greatest.
Oh look, this guy made his own energon cocktail. In Beast Wars 2, Galvatron was always getting drunk, resulting in situations like this. And right here, Leo Convoy gets plastered and wrecks up a bot called Apache's bedroom. It's even said that Alchemist Prime loved a bit of tipple. And yeah, they love bars. Obviously McAdams, who at one point did turn out to be Alchemist Prime. He once had his own place called the Old Oil House in the Marvel days, and also in Cyberverse. Swerve had a bar on the Lost Light, where the bots would socialize, dance, and throw fuck-off Megatron parties. Pretty sure I remember Trailcutter drinking to forget his depression. He would drink this stuff that was so strong they had to use protective gloves to handle it. This guy even used to carry a box drink around in the comics. There's a little bit more going on here, I'll come back to that in a minute. Tarantulas loved eating rats, and he threatened to eat Cheetor once. Rat Trap was seen eating apples, but the funniest I thought was Dinobot, who ate his own clone. So not just eating, but cannibalism. Yeah, there have been a number of occurrences of Cybertronian cannibalism over the years. Check out my vid on the absolute worst things the Transformers have done. I go more into it in that one. Another thing I always found odd was how Megatron would turn into a tiny little pistol and let others fire him when he had a hugely powerful cannon on the back of his forearm. The only reason I can surmise for this is that by firing a smaller beam, it's a more focused shot, so therefore more accurate and possibly more concentrated. Kind of a surgical strike type thing. I don't know, let me know what you guys think about that. I've seen him take baths, not just like Galvatron when he got stuck in that insanity-inducing plasma pool on Thrall that one time.
Who disturbs my plasma bath?
And no, I'm not talking about your kinky fan art with RC or Prime. I'm talking about the time Thundercracker and Skywarp had a nice, relaxing reward for themselves, and they got scrubbed over by a minicon too. No real explanation given for this, but I reckon it's probably a way of quickly reabsorbing depleted energon. And these sparks right here are an indication that the minicon is making some small repairs. Skywarp's never been happier.
Must have air.
They seem to be able to breathe, at least sometimes. There was an episode of Energon where they talked about synchronizing their breathing at one point.
Listen, I keep telling you that you've got to synchronize your breathing with mine.
And Galvatron here is definitely trying to choke Rodimus to death. Although I've seen people online saying that he's trying to like pop his head off like a champagne cork. In Beast Wars, Cheetor got constricted by an anaconda and complained that he couldn't breathe. And Megatron is clearly out of breath here on the moon. And in Revenge of the Fallen, you can clearly see Megatron and Starscream's breath condensing in the cold atmosphere. The best explanation I've seen for this was that it was ventilating their systems when they were overheating, which, you know, does make sense.
It's not the last time I'm gonna see you, you know, B? Come on, don't do that.
Yep, they cry. Sometimes it's just a display of emotions. You know, when somebody dies and they kind of sob. Other times, they literally well up and shed tears. And I'm not talking about the Japanese ones where they turn into fucking ornamental fountains, but actual tears of sadness. They reckon that these are streak marks from tears in Transformers 1. Then there's this nightmare fuel.
Of 100 Decepticons!
Oh my god, I feel like I'm watching The Substance again. Now, there was one explanation floated by James Roberts, one of the writers, who said that when the bots get emotional, they have these microfilaments over their eyes called an optical gauze, and that overheats and you get these ribbons of light. Yeah. Okay, let's do farts and burps because, yep, they do all of those. DJ was a party-loving Maximal who would drink copious amounts of oil, but then would often wet himself. And there's one that I can think of where Swoop empties his bowels on Megatron. Then there was the time in the Mulder Meets the Eye comics where Misfire was trying to rehabilitate a brain-broken Grimlock, finally managing to get him to write the first letter of his own name just to realize that Grimlock had lost control of his fluid tanks all over the floor. The obvious example of farting that I can think of was when Rhinox blasted Megatron into a mushroom cloud of pure methane. Cheetor did it as well in another ep. And in an IDW comic, a mini Constructicon lets out a big one. The other guys in the room laugh and ask to open a window. Quite a bit of innuendo in Transformers, like Chrome Dome really seemed to enjoy watching RC transform. And of course, Octane was seen leching at photos of fembots in this ep of G1. And there was a much more overt example in the Japanese continuity, where he was seen making pornography with Tigertron. Rat Trap once offered to take Silverbolt to what sounds like a Cybertronian version of a strip club.
The servant butts are walking around minus their torso plates, you know what I mean?
So yeah, there's quite a few innuendos in there, implying sexual relations. Especially in the Japanese dub of Prime, where Black Arachnia spoke of wanting to have her way with young Jack. Oh, it's Japanese culture. It's just Japanese culture. I'm sure it's fine. Botanica once accused Rat Trap of sticking his tail in a computer socket, to which he replied, "It's better than plowing your little field of dreams." Woo! In the G.I. Joe comics, Scarlet and Bumblebee had a suggestive conversation about riding him. You know what I'm saying? And apparently this line from Sunstreaker in the Dreamwave comics is a reference to Transformers STDs. Huh. And who can forget Kiss Players, where Optimus got his gear stick polished? Pretty strong on the innuendo front there. Oh, it's Japanese culture. It's just Japanese culture. I'm sure it's fine. Yeah. On that, I'm planning to do a series of retrospectives, including Kiss Players, which will be pretty entertaining for you guys. For me, though, Hi, how much eyeball bleach do you keep in stock, and what's the price of literally all of it? Anyway, the bots also form long-lasting relationships, becoming sparkmates, and cement it by becoming conjunct endura, the equivalent of getting married. I might do a video on all the Transformer couples at some point, including the time Transformers have gotten involved with, organics. For that one, I might even look at some fan fiction too, which... Do you guys make wet wipes like baby wipes to clean up memories? Anyway, speaking of bonding with organics, another strange thing the bots do is binary bonding, where they pick out an organic partner, shove them into a robotic suit that folds them up like some fucking origami, and then sit them on their shoulders to be their headmasters. It's to give them quicker reactions and stuff, but again, kind of odd. They've been shown to age too. The best example probably being Alpha Trion. Wow, check out young Trion, strapping, swashbuckling, roguelike ruffian that he is. I just charmed a grandmother out of her fortune. But in the Marvel comics, Cup gets so old that his systems are in danger of shutting down one by one. Also, there was a bot called Zaron that could no longer transform because he was just so old that his body was no longer up to it. Rodimus started to become senile in the Last Bot Standing comics, as did Bulldog in The Last Knight. He was a relic of the World War I era, having kept his World War I alt mode of a Mark IV tank, and his robo-dementia meant that he thought that he was still living in that period of history. And Jetfire needed a cane to keep his balance in Revenge of the Fallen. I mean, he also used it to bludgeon Mixmaster, but yeah. Another one that surprised me was their ability to go emersant. Now, after living for many millennia, like Cybertronians have been known to do, when they're not being eviscerated in civil wars that is, they can choose to put themselves peacefully out to pasture and slowly merge back into the planet. This is known as going emersant, and generally happens when a bot has grown weary of old age. So they retire to a secluded location like a cave or something like that, and enter a kind of hibernation where they're gradually reabsorbed back into the planet. And that's exactly what happened with Optimus's mentor Codexa in the 2019 IDW continuity, as well as numerous titans whose slumbering bodies formed a sprawling mountain range. The flip side of all of this is that, of course, they start off as kids. Slipstream here being depicted as a child in this flashback. Deathsaurus and Starsaber's early rivalry was shown here as kids, and Gage was, of course, a kid bot until he was murdered by Quake.
Bonjour, chérie.
Another curious one is the fact that they have regional accents, like human regional accents. The most ridiculous accent being Hot Rod in The Last Knight. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. The Bayverse did have an explanation for this, though, as the bots take masses of info from the web and then choose an accent from there.
What are we gonna do with this shrimp taco? Just pop a cap in his ass, throw him in the truck, and then nobody gonna know.
But apparently Hot Rod chose the accent and then for some reason wasn't able to change it. And of course, there was Pablo from Rise of the Beast.
Accent? What accent?
Who didn't even realize he had an accent. I saw a comment talking about how their accent might depend on where they land for the first time, which makes sense to me. In the Marvel comics, they were shown to be able to exist as energy beings whose consciousness could survive inside of computers. Yeah, this was after Optimus got blowed up and was thought to be dead, but his mind was backed up onto a floppy disk. Maybe they called floppy disks, actually, upon which he resided for years as they tried to rebuild his body. Like, what exactly is floppy about that? He was in there believing he was a video game character and just offing NPCs like it was going out of style. They have initiation. Oh, excuse me. Apologize. They have initiation ceremonies and rituals, including the rite of the Auto brand, which doesn't need too much deconstructing. It's kind of what it sounds like. It's an Autobot rite of passage where a bot is made an official member of the ranks of the army by having an insignia heat branded onto their bodies. In the Skybound comics, RC talked about the tradition of the Iron Apprentice, like a Padawan, I guess, a bond designed to pass down knowledge and experience to the younger generation. RC had been paired with Ultra Magnus apparently, and referred to the whole thing as the beginning of a clan or family, which made it especially touching that she took on Carly as her Iron Apprentice. I've seen Hardhead running on a treadmill. That was a moment.
Hey, what do you mean?
Actually, they were all in the gym. And apparently Whirl was a watchmaker in IDW. Why do they need watches though? Don't know.
Over.
They've been known to smoke cigars. You guys will all know Hound chewing on what looked like an artillery shell, also doubled as a weapon of last resort. Cup smoked them too, and IDW explained that they were called cigars, and Prowl encouraged him to smoke them as they fed him a substitute for the solar-charged crystal radiation that he'd become addicted to whilst he was stranded on an alien planet, and basically kept him stable, and allowed Prowl to mind control him, but that's another story. Alright you guys, I gotta leave that there for now, but thank you for sticking with me over this little break that I've taken. I've been using my time to plan and get content ready for later in the year, mainly a couple of specials that I've been working on, like a Pacific Rim vid, but you know, that's further down the line. And the next one, which is about all of the horrific things that Superman has done over the years. That one is actually pretty crazy. Transformers-wise, I got a video looking at Six Shot, and then all of the Transformers twins. And of course, we still gotta get super crazy with Galvatron. Let me know if there's anything you want to see too.